Welcome, IMA members, to the official podcast of the Internet Marketing Association. I'm your host, Dominic Sirianni. I know I'm wasting half of my marketing budget each month. I just don't know which half. Those of us who have been in marketing for more than 90 days have probably heard that at least 3 times. That statement is attributed to John Wanamaker, who supposedly said it like 100 years ago. Well, John, at long last, the sharp edge of your quote is starting to dull. For the first time, we marketers know exactly which campaigns are working and which ones aren't. Sadly, that's come at the demise of an entire industry, but I'm sure the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and the USA Today will survive in some form or fashion. The very nature of a free market mandates that we innovate or die. Why didn't the content masters of yesterday invent online distribution? Why didn't cab companies invent Uber? Why was Blockbuster so busy being Blockbuster that they forgot to be Netflix? I want to get right into our interview today. Darian Shirazi grew up in Palo Alto with a father who instilled in him equal parts interest in sales and technology. Is it any wonder, then, why he founded Radius, a company that uses incredible software to empower businesses from American Express to the local insurance salesman to dramatically improve their sales? Aside from his father, Darian was also influenced by his time working at Facebook. Imagine the perspective you get when having a passion for coding, a passion for sales, and being a 17-year-old lucky enough to intern at Facebook during its earliest days. Darian, I'm really excited to talk to you. Thanks for making time today. I've given people a brief introduction, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Thanks for having me. So I'm Darian Shirazi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Radius, and we've been in business for the past few years, and our focus is really on helping CMOs, VPs of marketing, VP of demand gen do a better job of using data to more effectively target business prospects.
You're going to do a deep dive into data and marketing and all of that those two things mean. So without any further ado, I want to turn things over to you to talk to us about the Quantified Marketer.
Sounds good. So today we're going to talk about the Quantified Marketer, and this is really a very interesting topic to me. You know, we've seen an evolution in marketing multiple times, but we're just about to hit on a brand new phase of marketing that's software powered by data and sort of powering your marketing organization using data, analytics, and large amounts of data. And that's one of the things that we focus on here at Radius. But the first thing that we got to realize is what sort of changed with marketing. And the new marketer is really 3 sort of things that we sort of look at. First is marketers are becoming more data driven. They're understanding their customers. They want to see top of the market opportunities. They're revenue driven. These are really, really interesting pieces, is that the marketer has evolved from being someone that's more creative into someone that's really data driven. And they're going to be using a lot of different technologies to do this. They might be using Marketo. They might be using HubSpot. They might be using Radius. They might be, using data.com. They might be using Marketing Cloud. There are so many different software packages. I think we could probably fill the entire time of this webinar with the number of software packages available to marketers today. And also the new marketer has a different sort of cultural understanding, is that, they're going to be hiring really quantified people that are really quants that can look at data. They're very performance based, and they're going to sort of be bleeding with sales. Is that, sales and marketing are going to be even closer than they were before. They're going to be looking at the same reports, measuring their results, and really understanding, okay, where's the leaky part of the boat? That's sort of the way they're going to be looking at it. And that really means that you got to say that data drives decisions, is that we sort of have whittled down those 3 aspects of the new modern marketer into customer data, prospect data, and performance data. And that's really those 3 key parts, is that the quantified marketer is going to be looking at all those different aspects of data. And they're going to need to know which signals from these 3 pieces are going to be important to increasing conversion. So while you look at prospect data, you look at customer data, all those different kinds of things, you're going to be able to identify new prospects and increase new conversions, but you've got to do a good job of merging these 3 types of data together and understanding them more effectively, as well as using external data sources to do a better job of increasing those conversions. So what's quite interesting is that Teradata did a study, and they sort of said, okay, what is the reason that marketers want more data? And they really want more data because they want to make more accurate decisions. 58% said that that's really one of the main things that they care about with data. And it's interesting because a lot of them wish they could do this, but a lot of them don't know how to do this. And so the CMO today is going to try to find ways to make more accurate decisions based on data. But the challenge ends up being, if you're not working with data in the right way, are you making a decision off of data that isn't correctly quantified, isn't correctly understood or analyzed? That's a really big risk. And so what marketers have been trying to do is build data-driven organizations. But how have they fared? Most of them have struggled. It's how effectively does your marketing organization use data? A lot of marketing organizations are struggling. Some are on the right path and some are doing well. But the question is, are these marketing organizations really going to harness data in the right way? Are they making the wrong decisions based off of data? That's really a good question. And there are sort of the 4 V's of marketing that we consider the major challenges. The first one is volume, is that there's terabytes of data out there that marketers can make use of and use to make these better decisions. Data is also changing drastically. You know, you might have a business that you're trying to track over time, and it might be changing in who works there and what their location is, what their revenue might be. And there's so many different attributes of data. That's variety. And then on the veracity side is that there's also uncertainty as to whether certain data attributes are accurate or not. So we've got all these different challenges with data, and for a marketer, these challenges are brand new and something that they might not have experience working with. And so what we've also seen is that of these 4 challenges, what are some actual cases of the data being challenging to work with? You know, 40% of marketers only maintain basic customer contact information. They don't have the diversity of attributes necessary to determine what are my best customer segments. They don't understand how good certain businesses are, whether businesses are within certain revenue lines, whether they're on Facebook, whether they're social, whether they accept credit cards. You know, marketers aren't doing a good job of tracking their customers as well as they could. And just 8% have a 360-degree view of their customers. That means that they really do have a good understanding of who's my customer and do I know everything I need to know about that customer. And then only 15% use social media to learn more about small business customers. You've got, 12 million businesses that are on Facebook now, and that's just in the US. Those 12 million that are updating their Facebook page and have different changes to their business, and marketers aren't harnessing that data. They may be advertising to businesses on Facebook, but they aren't understanding who their ideal customer actually is. So what's interesting is that when you have hundreds of signals about a prospect or about one of your customers, you can understand when they're growing. You can understand when there are new communication channels. You can communicate with customers in new ways that you wouldn't have normally done it. You can advertise them through custom audiences on Facebook. You can call them on the phone, but you can also have a better understanding of what to say to them on the phone when you call them. But also being able to track which ones are growing fast and which ones are going to need your new products and services is going to be particularly important. And that's sort of the new customer record, as we call it. The next thing is that data is not enough. Just having attributes of data is not really enough. So just having the business's Facebook page, or just having the business's Twitter account, or just knowing what their revenue is, that alone on a prospect or on a customer isn't enough to do a great job with data science and make informed decisions en masse. And, we're marketers. We want to make a decision across thousands of prospects, not just one. That's not what we want to do. We want to make a broad-basing decision that allows us to do campaigns that cast a wide net. So how do we do that? Well, we could build a data science organization, but that's really difficult. And the reason is that it's hard to find people that are good at working with data. 400,000 jobs are open by 2015 for data science. This is from a New York Times study. 140,000 people are qualified. That's an abysmal rate. And chances are, if you're going up against a company like Google or Facebook, you probably aren't going to be able to hire those people because they're going to be working with other data scientists that are already on those teams. And data scientists like working with data scientists. So, right now, the marketer segments their customers on basic attributes, the majority of marketers. There might be other marketers that are really smart and have done significantly more attributes and, might have significantly more access to data, or they might have built organizations already internally. But for the most part, marketers aren't really doing that great of a job of segmenting based off of many, many different attributes. They're sort of just focused on location, employees, and revenue. And now what you can do is imagine if you could segment your customers on brand new attributes that you weren't able to go after before. So whether the business has a website, whether they have a Facebook page, what their average review is. And that might signal which prospect, let's say that they're restaurants, are higher priority than others. And if you think about the different types of segmentation down the funnel, is that when you build a pipeline with sales, you sort of need to determine which attributes or which pieces of data are going to be valuable for prospects within different segments of the funnel or different sections or phases within the funnel. So at the target level, you might be able to create a cross-section of the best possible segments, say, hey, we know that we can close customers that have high Yelp ratings that are on Facebook and that accept credit cards. That might be a good way to create a cross-section of your top of the funnel leads. But as you get further down, you're going to need to know things like, oh, who's the decision maker? How, what does this decision maker do? You're going to need to know the credit score of the business. Is the business growing? Is it healthy? Do one of their competitors use us as you get further down in the decision? Are they using a competitor to you? And then you're going to need to resegment that prospect to get better at filling the top of the funnel with the leads that qualify based on specific attributes. So it's really interesting how this report from Forrester says that marketers must change intelligently. B2B CMOs need to think about big data, not as a data quality and technology problem, but as a way to transition their teams from list managers and campaign number crunchers to custodians of customer insight. That's really key, is that you should be making decisions as a marketing organization based off of data. You shouldn't be just taking data attributes and sending them to your sales team. It's all about deciding which prospects do you go after next, and how do you nurture those prospects correctly and make your organization more efficient instead of calling everybody. And that leads us to sort of what we're doing at Radius. And at Radius, what our focus is we're building a marketing intelligence platform. We have over 50 employees. We have Fortune 500 customers that use us for exactly what the Forrester Report talks about. It's all about deriving customer insight from data. How do we better understand our customers such that we can feed that information back into new prospecting, segmentation of customers such that you're focusing on the right set of customers and pushing campaigns to your sales team that actually are going to convert. And what we do is we have sort of three pieces of our platform. The first one is a core data set. We have 25 million businesses in our data set and over 300 attributes per business. We know so many different things about all the businesses in the US. We then integrate with your CRM in real time, so we understand where you're most successful at closing, and we actually match our data to your data. And then we also have a software application that lets you as the marketer understand which cohorts you're most successful in. We can show you you're really good at selling into consulting firms in Atlanta, Georgia that are between these revenue bands and that are this social and that are growing in this way. And then we help you spin up new campaigns and push those campaigns directly into Salesforce. That way you're pushing maybe 1,500 leads that you know are within your best performing customer segment rather than pushing 100,000 that may or may not be within your best performing customer segment. And our customers are, far and wide. They're large companies, they're small companies. We've raised over 55 million recently. We just announced that in September. And we fuel growth for many of these companies. I mean, many of these companies have seen massive growth in terms of conversion as a result of Radius. And that's what we really are excited about. A closer look at sort of how marketing intelligence works is that we sort of like to put this analogy together as using a map, or not necessarily an analogy, but sort of a cross-section of what we do. If you look at a map of the country, an example of what our marketing intelligence platform would do is we would segment and basically say, okay, how is your marketing efforts, or how are your marketing efforts doing in New York City? Now, let's say we were to zoom in on that. We then can understand pretty much any of your prospects. We know, okay, this customer and this potential prospect of yours, has these aspects about them. It's a merchant, they accept credit cards, they have an online storefront, they have a Shopify web cart, here's their phone number, and here's their email. And what we've really allowed you to do is really segment the market by all of these different attributes and understand your customers down to this level, which is something that typically is only done in the Fortune 50. You can understand the org chart of American Express, but can you understand the org chart of a small coffee shop? And that's really interesting. And then you can discover more macros, which is that, okay, basically I know my best customers in New York, but what are my best customers in St. Louis? What are my best customers in Austin? And creating an infinite number of cross sections within each of those markets to understand where am I most successful as a marketing organization. That allows you to develop a plan to say, okay, these are the prospects that are going to convert. These are the ones that are like my existing customers and that really match a criteria that I know I'm going to be successful with. So in a nutshell, that's really what we do. And what we think the evolution of marketing is going to see is that we're going to see a change that goes from marketers sort of having this blast approach to being really surgical and focused on cross-sections of customer segments that they know are going to be successful. And that's our approach to how we use big data to power our marketing efforts and power the marketing efforts of our customers. Well, if you're open to a customer insight assessment, it's free, and we do a really good job of helping you understand your best customer segments literally within minutes. Thank you so much for the invite to the IMA organization. I'm looking forward to working more with you guys to talk about marketing and big data.
Well, Darian, you do a great job of encapsulating and telling a good story around marketing and data. A lot of times people can get lost in the numbers or talking about all of the changes. I want to ask a follow-up question, and I want to drive us even more into the weeds or into the mud. If you can role play with me for just a second, put your hat on as though you're a Radius client and you're a relatively small business. Your sales are doing okay, but let's say you sell insurance or you sell advertising or something like that. How would you use the power of Radius to help you close your next sale?
Well, I mean, what's interesting is that if you need to get buy-in within your organization, when you do an insights report with us, we show you exactly where you've been successful already. So basically what you can do is you can say, oh, I know for a fact that we are really successful in these cohorts, and we didn't know that before. And look at the number of leads and opportunities that we have within that segment. Let's spin up a campaign with Radius and see how it does. And you can measure that campaign through our system literally within days if you had a sales team that was working those. And so when we go through our trials, you can actually predict that you're going to have success pretty quickly. It's really interesting once you do that insights report because you know immediately, okay, if I were to spin up a campaign directly within this segment, I know I'm going to get this level of sales going forward.
Very powerful and very much something that a lot of organizations out there believe is possible, but they aren't doing it right now. Let's look for a second at the social piece. So if you're, again, that insurance agency owner, and all of a sudden you have all of the data that Radius brings with it, so you know if potential clients have a website, you know what their estimated sales are, how does that help you, or what can you draw correlations between that data and your sales success rate?
That actually is what the software does automatically. It's not about that the greatness of the fact that the business is on Facebook or not. It's not really about those things. It's about the fact that those attributes may or may not be more pervasive amongst your closed won customers. So like we take 300 attributes and we cross-reference all of them, and then we create correlations to determine which segments are going to be best performing for you. And the system does that all automatically. And so it's not about like, oh, that this business is socially savvy, so that's great. No, it's about there's a correlation between your win rate and the fact that a business is social, or that a business accepts credit cards, or that a business is within a specific industry. All of these types of cohort analyses are things that are allowing you to better understand your customer. Not necessarily that, oh, social is great. Like that message is already tried and been true, that in the enterprise, it's not about the fact that the business is on social. It's about that because they're on social, they're probably more likely to spend on marketing. They're likely to be growing. They're likely to have all these different things going on with them.
12 million companies in the United States on Facebook. Only 15% of companies are using social information to help them drive sales. Does that surprise you? Does that statistic surprise you?
It's really new. I mean, it is really new. It doesn't surprise me. It's a lot like the adoption rate of new operating systems, right? It's like it takes a while for people to get on new technologies. And, it's really interesting how marketing organizations sometimes can't react fast enough to these new data attributes. And that's something that we help a lot of marketing organizations do. Like we added a field that allows you to segment customers by which ones use Square as their point of sale service solution. We did that in like a week. And that opened up a brand new set of opportunities for a lot of our customers.
How do you know that? How do you aggregate that data?
It's available. It's public. It's pretty easy to get. It's not about getting the data. It's about matching it correctly to customer records.
That's the piece that I think is so hard. To expand on your answer, I think only 15% of companies are using this information because the aggregation of it is incredibly difficult. It might be easy one customer at a time. You can go out, learn about them, follow them. You can social stalk them for long enough to get the information you need. But to do that in mass for people in your entire sales circle or your potential customer circle, and then draw comparisons between those potential customers and how you've sold into those segments, and I'm glad that you explained that that's exactly what Radius does, but that's what I think keeps holding down that percentage.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, is that if you were to try to get that data, it actually wouldn't be hard for you to get, but it'd be really hard for you to match it to your customers. And that's what we do automatically. It's just like the system is constantly refreshing. I mean, we refresh 30 million businesses and all the data on them, or 25 to 30 million, depending on the week, because businesses change so often in the U.S. We do it, we do it every week, and we change that data, and it's automatically updated and refreshed in your CRM.
How much is it?
It depends on the amount of data that you have internally. So we have customers that pay on the low end, $12K a year, and we have customers that pay $1 million a year. And so it really depends on the size of your organization and the size of your data set that we have to process. And so, it's really, we have many different customers of all sizes. So typically customers fall somewhere on the lower end of that, but, there are bigger Fortune 50s that fall on the higher end.
Last question, Darian, before we wrap up. Do you guys have a tool that can help businesses really look internally and examine where they are from a marketing perspective, areas of opportunity for them from a data perspective, look at their funnel and maybe see where the gaps are, and then identify potential ways that they can fill those gaps?
That's exactly what the Insights report does. It's the Insights report is, you OAuth with Salesforce, or you upload your customer records, and then within minutes, we show you exactly what you just asked.
That totally wasn't contrived. I had no idea that's exactly what it did. Actually, I pulled that question from watching an old presentation that you did about a year ago, and there was a spreadsheet involved and whatnot. It sounds like you've grown that concept into a whole interactive piece, which is great.
Yeah, definitely.
Where can people go one more time to get more information on going through that process or to learn more about Radius?
Yeah, radius.com. That's really the best way. Or you can just call our Salesforce, 855-RADIUS-0. And, or you can, find us on Twitter. We're at Radius. Really, there's many ways to engage with us, but radius.com is probably the best. And, we're looking forward to hearing from a lot of marketers like we do every day.
Well, thanks for your time. We really appreciate you spending the time with us to share some great information on data and marketing.
Thank you.